If you're stressed, anxious, worried, overwhelmed, or you're going through something very difficult right now, this video can help. This is based on a principle from Dale Carnegie's book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. It's the idea that we need to live each day like the watertight compartments on a ship. This strategy helped me get through one of the toughest times of my life when I had a retinal detachment a year ago. And that's when the retina, which is a thin layer of nervous tissue, detaches from the back of the eye, and that could potentially lead to blindness. Now, this principle is essentially about living in the present, but it provides a powerful analogy that makes it easier to understand. Now, ships have what are called watertight compartments, so that if a part of the ship is damaged, the rushing water won't spread to the rest of the ship, and the ship could stay afloat. We should create compartments for every moment of our lives. If we don't, we can get stuck obsessing about our past, which leads to depression, guilt, shame, and low self-worth. Or if we obsess about the future, it leads to anxiety, stress, and overwhelm. So imagine yourself creating these powerful titanium-sealed walls that will prevent you from ruminating about the past or worrying about the future. Now, worrying is essentially praying for what you don't want to happen in the future. And this is when we use what-if language. What if I fail? What if I get sick? What if I mess up? What if it doesn't work out or I get rejected? What if everyone laughs at me? This can lead to a negative downward thinking spiral. Worrying is basically getting way ahead of yourself and looking at the worst possible case scenarios that aren't likely to happen anyway. So if you're anxious, stressed, or depressed, or overwhelmed, remember this principle. Look at the past only to learn lessons from it, to savor wonderful moments, and for inspiration of where you're headed, but not to beat yourself up with regrets, resentment, or disappointment. And use the future to plan exciting goals with anticipation. Do the same with each day. Set goals for your future, then backwards plan by creating daily and micro goals. And if you plan well, then completing these daily goals for each day should get you to your goal. So let go of being obsessed about that goal and always looking at the long road ahead, because that drains you and leads to procrastination. Your goal is going to happen because you've planned well, and you can course correct as all plans need adjustment. Now place all your energy on those goals for the day, one goal at a time. You can further divide each goal into watertight micro tasks where you're not thinking about the task before, the task later, or the others. You're just laser focused on doing this one thing right now with the best of your ability. Now here is why worrying is unnecessary. Number one, it won't change the past or the future, unless you have a time machine. Number two, it robs you of the energy and motivation to act on the only thing you have control over, which is right now, the present moment. This is the only thing that we have guaranteed, not the future. Number three, worrying adds unnecessary stress, which affects your thinking ability to solve problems and make good decisions. Worrying actually increases your chances of making mistakes and probably causing the very thing you're worried about. Worrying affects your physical and mental health, and worrying magnifies and creates problems. So do this. Take the word worry out of your vocabulary and replace it with concern. Instead, say, I'm concerned next time. Concern is about acknowledging problems, not making them worse than they are, and most importantly, solving them. Concern has a power to turn scary problems into puzzles and fear into action. So how do you not worry, especially after a traumatic, life-changing event? Here's my tried and tested recipe. Number one, focus on calming down and on what you can control. My strategies to calm down include breathing deeply in through the nose, out through the nose, with long exhales. I pray, I go for a walk, and I talk to family members that I trust and also my friends, and I feel connected and they give me hope. Number two, acceptance. You have to accept what happened, but don't make it worse than it is. Don't fight it, blame yourself or others, and deny what's happening. Now, this is where most people get stuck and they suffer from this. They won't accept the truth of what happened, and they catastrophize it, and they conjure up all the worst case possible scenarios. Gratitude. Focus on what you still have at the moment, not on what you don't have. Gratitude can change your mood in an instant. Maybe things could have been worse. Problem solve by focusing on what you can control. If you could do something about it, do it and focus on what you want, not on what you don't want. Break the problem down into micro steps and then take action. Create compartmentalized micro steps and take action on each micro step at a time without thinking about the next steps. Do these and at the end of the day, say to yourself, I've done what I can. Enjoy the process as much as possible, even through the most traumatic times. Reflect on what the experience is teaching you. And I truly believe that every hardship, trauma, and major life problem is rich with learning opportunities to shape your character, build life skills, and make you stronger. If it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. Enjoy the experience as you grow in the process and celebrate all the wins, even the little progress gains. If you can't control or influence or even change the situation, then accept it and change your attitude about it. Now here is how I applied these 7 principles to my eye injury. On June 18th, 2022, I was playing basketball, and while I was not paying attention, the ball hit my right eye at full speed, right in the flesh. It was very painful, but I didn't think anything of it. But later that evening, while watching a movie, I noticed light flashes, and then a watery pouch began to form on the bottom right of my eye that kept getting bigger. Because I knew that my eye was vulnerable to retinal detachments because of its elongated shape, I try not to panic and just remain calm. I breathed deeply and prayed so that I can think rationally. I stayed focused on troubleshooting, so I looked up images online to see what it might be and accepted the worst case scenario that this could be a retinal detachment. But I didn't make things worse than they were. Like, am I going to be blind? Like, I wasn't thinking that far ahead. Although that was a possibility down the road, but why entertain that thought and draw energy away from what I can do right now? So I broke the problem down into steps. My first one being, I need to see an optometrist immediately and then go from there. I wasn't going to see past that because that causes overwhelm. And that's all I could do right now. I didn't blame the fact that I played basketball on that day, the fact that I never took great care of my eyes, because I can't change that. I can only control how I respond right now and what I do moving forward. The next day, the optometrist confirmed that it was a retinal detachment, and she referred me to a great surgeon right away, and she was so helpful, and I showed her my gratitude. I think the fact that I have an amazing optometrist, that the surgeon I was referred to was the best in the region, and that I didn't wait, I took action. 2 days later, the eye surgeon tried to laser my retina back into place and place a gas bubble in my right eye to see if that would work. He made no guarantees, but hoped that this would be all we needed, and that we wouldn't have to do a more invasive surgery. So I would have to be positioned at an angle for several weeks, and I couldn't sleep on my back in order to hold the gas bubble in place. I couldn't work on my computer, I had to cancel a prepaid vacation, and many other commitments, which would hurt financially, but I kept my priorities in check. My eyesight was the most important thing right now. Since I couldn't do much, I figured I'd make this the best experience possible. So my brother bought me an arm sling that would support my neck. I also bought a neck support pillow, some scented oils. I made a playlist of podcasts, audiobooks, and educational YouTube videos so I could take this time to learn. I used it as a self-care moment. My goal was to do everything the doctor said and place my energy here each day at a time, giving it my best to increase the chances of success. It was all up to me now, and I wasn't thinking of going blind if the surgery wasn't going to work. All I focused on was what I could control right now, which was to put 100% of my energy on following the doctor's instructions. Several weeks later, after the bubble dissolved, the surgeon said that the procedure didn't work and we needed to schedule a vitrectomy right away, where they drained the eye fluid and reattached the retina using different tools and lasers. Again, I calmed down and focused on my immediate next step instead of blaming the world or getting angry. I learned that the insurance didn't cover the surgery, so I had to write a letter of appeal to the hospital and wait for approval. Since time was of the essence, all I could do was wait and hold my head at a position so the retina wouldn't detach more. Once the surgery was approved, I thanked everyone who helped speed up the process, and I prepared for surgery by reading about it, preparing my mind and body, and my room for everything that I needed. I bought this massage headrest, packed some light clothes for 2 weeks, and I stayed at my parents' house so they could help me during the recovery process. During the surgery, I focused on being curious to avoid being scared. I was kind to all the nurses and the surgeons, and I asked them about the tools they used. And as I could see everything through my eye, I marveled at the technology they had to fix it. Just finished my surgery. Gotta stay face down. Once I got home, I threw up for 2 days straight, literally every 20 minutes. Maybe it was the car ride back because I had my head in a face down position, possible allergies to the anesthesia, or the immense pain I started to feel. But I was fearing that the head and eye pressure of throwing up would detach the retina, so I did my best to minimize the forcefulness each time. It was extremely painful, and I ended up sleeping on the kitchen table like this, face down. I had to remain face down for 2 weeks, with the exception of getting up to use the restroom. What kept me going was compartmentalized focus. I focused on getting through 1 hour increments. I didn't think about the pain of doing this for 2 weeks. I just said, this hour will be better than the last one. I joked around. I listened to 5 audiobooks and began thinking about the meaning of all of this. What am I learning and what is this teaching me? And despite the pain and inconvenience and the possibility of worse outcomes, I had an opportunity to take care of my eyes like I never have before. To work smarter, not harder, because computer work for 12 to 15 hours a day was what caused my vision problems in the first place. I would recommit to my health, to taking breaks, strengthening my faith, and enjoying life more. The surgery was a success, and this event became one of my greatest teachers. I came out stronger because of it. So what now? Well, my eye is still at risk for another detachment, but I'm focusing on what I can control. I'm not playing basketball anymore, but I'm exercising, and I'm now embarking on reversing my myopia so that my eyeball can return back to its normal size. So that one day, who knows, maybe a year or 2 from now, I can play basketball again. One step at a time, focusing on the now, what I can control, focusing on what I want, not on what I don't want, and taking massive action on each day. I know that day will come, but I'm not obsessing over it. I'm putting my energy on what I can control, which is the present, right here, right now.